Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you brothers and sisters for tuning in to this next episode in the role of the masjid in the West. And today we're going to be talking about the subject of something very close to my own heart, and many of you, I'm sure, it will be close to your hearts as well. It's going to be really how we utilize the masjid to outreach, to call the people to Islam. In other words, Jamshedi is my brother over here. You're still my brother, aren't you?
I'll always be your brother, inshallah.
I know over the last few episodes you might have got a bit sick of seeing my face, but you're still my brother.
I can never get sick of seeing your face, man. It's
really?
like a shining light. I love the noor coming from.
Alhamdulillah. Your beard looks very nice today in your hair. Very nice, mashallah. What happened? Okay. Jamshedi, my boy. Today, we really need to discuss the whole issue of the masjid of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the model he set up in Medina with regards to calling the not yet Muslims, right, to Islam.
Indeed.
And we have like a system to discuss, don't we?
We do have a system to discuss.
First of all, why are we discussing this?
Well, I think given the masajid in the West, not only are they, we've used the phrase in a previous episode, like the stronghold of the Muslims. You know, it's somewhere where the Muslims can go to just to keep a hold of their deen.
Yeah.
But the masajid should also be more than this. They should also be beacons of light that call other people to the light as well. It's not sufficient for masjids in the West just to cater to those people who are already Muslim.
Yeah.
What we should also be doing, if we believe that we have the light, inshallah, and we do,
inshallah,
and we can demonstrate this, we should also be calling other people to our way of life. Otherwise, what's the point of us being Muslim? What's the point of us being here? You
Absolutely.
If we're not here to give da'wah, if we're not here to...
Well, we know, but we can argue that, I mean, the verse of the Quran that says to worship Allah. It doesn't say to give da'wah.
Yeah, but then to worship Allah, what does that literally mean? Fine, yeah, does it literally mean the prostration thing? Yes, it means that. But the worship of Allah covers many, many things.
Yeah.
And it means by obeying all of His commandments and everything that He has set down. We know, for example, there's a narration where there was a village or an area, a town, where everyone was in disobedience to Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the angels to destroy it. Yeah. And they went and they found a person worshipping Allah. And they came back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, Ya Allah, there is a man there who is in worship of you.
Oh, yes.
And what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to the angels?
Wow.
Destroy the town and turn it upside down on his head. Why? Because he should have been telling them. He should have been guiding these people. What was the point of him being there? Yeah. He knows the truth and he hid it from everyone else. So, this is not the action of a Muslim. So we need to extrapolate this as well to our masajid. Our masajid should not just be for the Muslims. They should also be, as I mentioned, the beacons of light that also call other people to this light. And if they're not addressing this need, I mean, it's going to be a very short, their function is going to be very short-lived.
Sure.
We need to sustain, Islam. We need to, at the end of the day, this we can see from recent events that are happening around the world with the financial crisis and, even just the state of the youth in the West now, where they're heedless. I mean, the riots that happened in London last year.
Heedless and headless as well.
Yeah, they need some kind of guidance. Society is going into self-destruct.
Yeah.
So we need to call people back to Islam in order to preserve humanity.
And it's the masjid which is the core of this.
The masjid has to be the core of it. The masjid, at the end of the day, that's where people know that they can go to find information on Islam.
well, they think that. Here
that
lies
should
the
be
problem, brothers and sisters.
that should be the theory.
Yeah.
This is why we need to address this issue as well, that if the masajid are not fulfilling this role, then we need to question why not and how can we get them to start engaging in that role. I think a lot of the issue comes down to they simply don't know how to do it. They don't have that experience because in many cases, for example, the imams, they may be from a third world country or from a Middle Eastern country where the society is predominantly Muslim already. So they've never been in that situation where they've had to explain the deen to someone else and that they are the minority group. And especially in this day and age now where we're very secular and people are getting educated and we're getting very scientific and we want, rational proofs and things like that.
Yeah.
They've never been put in that situation where they need to come up with these kind of arguments or these statements or basically proof. So I think that's possibly a reason why they're failing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the architecture of the masjid that has been adopted in the West oftentimes is one of expansive minarets, huge domes, gleaming writing and Arabic phrases and titles and, all this type of stuff which is very ostentatious, right? And then there's no invitation. It's a contradiction.
It's just like, you've set up the party and you've not invited anyone to be the guests. Apart from the people, they just take it all for granted anyway. There's nothing there. So we need to show other people. But, I think we can probably come back to the issue of over-decoration of the masajid as well. That's a separate issue. But in terms of the actual function of the people...
but it's a metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got all this wonderful facade.
Yeah.
But what actually lies behind the facade?
Exactly.
If you're not going to actually call your neighbors or call the people who are in the vicinity of that facade, then it is just a facade.
It is.
And it's useless. In other words, it's worthless. You may as well close it. Apart from just, the whole world is made a place of prostration.
Exactly.
So let's just prostrate, in the gardens or in the parks. Or at least let's make a display.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I would even probably go so far as to say there's probably a little bit of hypocrisy going on as well. If someone was to spend so much time just beautifying the masajid for no reason whatsoever other than extravagance, this just reeks of waste.
But it's also one of the signs, isn't it? It's towards the end of the days. Masjids will become very elaborate, very, very over-constructed, and
people will boast about their beauty.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So So we've set up the conversation, as it were. This is why we have to do it. And of course, we know there's hundreds of hadiths and ayat about the situation of the person who calls. We've already been through this in previous episodes. But, fundamentally, just to give one hadith, which is the one which we all love, none of you truly believed until you love for others as you love for yourself.
Indeed.
And we understand the classical scholars mention this is not just Muslims, this is
everyone. This is all of humanity.
Insaniyat, as you say in Pakistan, Okay, so
I don't know, I'm not from there.
Oh yeah, right. Pull the other one. Okay, so that's what we've set the whole discussion up now. So what can we offer by way of trying to fill the gap between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's model and the current situation we have in the West? Because this is what the brothers and sisters really want to know. How can they practically make a difference?
Okay, I think we need to make a real concerted effort to make the masjid appealing. We need to make it, I think we've already discussed this before, but just to go over it again, we need to make the masajid such that people will want to come in. We can't have a closed door policy and, you have to be, this type of person to be able to enter the masjid. No, we need to have an open door policy. Anyone comes in, anytime. I think one of the big things that happens, especially here in the West, is obviously the women, Western women, they don't walk around with headscarves on because they're just not used to that. And they're not used to wearing it. So when they come to explore the masjid for the first time, what often happens is, no, you have to wear this, you have to put it on, otherwise you can't come in. And this actually has a counter effect of, rather than inviting them in to explore what is Islam, because we've imposed this thing on them without explaining where it came from, what we've done is scared them away. And they may never come back. And the scary thing is, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, if they've never accepted Islam, they may be able to use this as an excuse against us to say, I wanted to know, but they forced this stupid thing on me.
No, we've discussed this in previous episodes, but fundamentally, this could be a barrier for them and for us.
Indeed. What we need to do, I mean, as we've discussed, we need to start inviting them in, but we also need to upgrade our dialogue as well. We need to start getting out of this whole, the manner of interfaith dialogue where you're correct, we're correct, everyone's happy so long as we're good people.
So what's the point of giving dawah then?
Exactly. We have to. There has to be some kind of a differentiation between us. We can't say you're correct, we're correct, and everyone's just good people. I've heard this argument many a time. So long as I'm a good person, so long as I don't harm my fellow man, what's the problem? The issue is very simple. Yeah, you can give your fellow man his rights. You find you're not robbing so-and-so, you're kind to so-and-so. But what about the rights of Allah? What about the rights of the one who created you? If you're not giving the creator his rights, the one who provides the air, your food, your sustenance, everything, the one who keeps your heart beating, then how can you expect a reward from him on the Day of Judgment when you need his help the most? So it's not just a case of just the rights of people. Islam encompasses this.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? Just to cut you there.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, okay, that if you are going to sit and just wait for the Day of Judgment and not enact what you believe in, okay, really, what is the point of you having that knowledge? What is the point of you having that knowledge if you're not going to take it out to other people? You'd be likened to the donkeys that carry books on their back.
Indeed.
Right?
It's actually scary because then the knowledge will speak against you because you didn't utilize it.
Yeah. So, as we've mentioned in the hadith about the village, and then start with this man.
Exactly.
Start with him. He's the culprit, man.
Exactly.
This is what we are in the West now. We're sitting on a Masjid, 2,000 in the UK plus.
Yeah.
These are the ones that were just registered. What about they're not registered? We know there's lots of that going on.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we understand the whole core issue. So you've got this, there's two different types of people, three different types of people, isn't there, who are calling right now from the Masjid. You've got the people who are extremely strong and shadid, a little bit qawi, yani, and then you've got the other person who is extremely
lenient,
bending over backwards to support leniency. What's it called? Liberalism. Liberalism.
Yeah, everyone's correct.
And then you've got this one in the middle. Well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's the one in the middle, right?
Inshallah.
And anyone who follows him, right?
Yeah,
and the
indeed.
companions, and we're the companions of the companions of the companions, right? So, tell us a little bit more about these two different types of people. Let's just define them exactly.
Okay, so the overzealous people, I think they're the type of Muslims that think that for someone to have accepted Islam or someone to know anything about Islam, you have to be practicing everything from day one. The problem being, this fundamentally comes down to what's known as the curse of knowledge, because this person, the person applying this ruling, he has a lot of knowledge, mashallah, but he's applying it incorrectly, because you have to put yourself in the mindset of someone in the West who doesn't know anything about Islam other than what they see on the media. They're coming into what seems to them to be an alien culture. We speak a different language. We follow a book rigorously. We do ritualistic actions 5 times a day. We, we're very, very strict in the way we dress and the way we have relationships with the opposite gender and things like that. We do everything completely opposite to the way they do it. Which
is why they left Christianity, right?
Yeah, which is...
We could argue that. Yeah, because it was ritualistic, without any rationality, without any being able to answer the questions.
Yeah, but there's also because people just don't like to follow the rules and they want to make it easy. So I mean, Christianity is
well. That's another. We'll do another program just on that. But I mean, so this guy, he's a little bit. He expects too much, really.
And I think we already mentioned this. As I mentioned, what I said just now with regards to the sister coming in. Oh no, you have to don the hijab and this, and that, and the other. We need to put things in context. Which is more important when you have someone in front of you? Is it better that they become a Muslim, but a sinful Muslim, but a Muslim nonetheless, or is it better that they remain a
just
kafir?
Continue that.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue after the break. Short commercial break coming up. Don't go away. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back after the break. We're discussing with our brother Jemshay the issue of da'wah and the masjid in the West. And what were we talking about just before the break, my brother? We were talking about this lady who comes to the masjid. Either she's going to, have all or nothing. It's that type of all or nothing approach. But what about her just saying, yeah, I'll become a Muslim? I'll be happy with that.
Well, again, we're talking about the technique of giving dawah, or the technique of even approaching someone. So in terms of the way we classified people, we had the underzealous person, the overzealous person, and inshallah we'll get to the person in the middle. But just for now, one of the mistakes that some people make in the congregation, this could be, bear in mind, when we're talking about the person giving the dawah, this could be the imam of the masjid, or this could be an appointed person in the congregation. It could be anyone, but the issue still affects them all the same. If they come with a point of view that this person, when they accept Islam, they have to implement the entire thing totally, you're just going to scare the person away. This was not how Islam came to the Sahaba. It was revealed over a period of 23 years.
No.
Even for example, the issue of alcohol, for example, we know that there are three distinct verses in the Quran that deal with alcohol. The first of which mentions where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they ask you about the khamr, tell them the bad of it outweighs the good. So there's an indication there that, it's not so good, but it's not forbidden outright. Then the next prohibition is that not to come to the salah whilst you're in a state of intoxication. Now, bear in mind, at this point, when you're a practicing Muslim and you're praying 5 times a day, you've got your Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha spread out throughout the day, when are you going to be able to drink at such point that when it's time for Salah, you're not intoxicated? Well, it's going to be, at very awkward times, literally late at night. So it's kind of, it hasn't prohibited it, but it's made it more difficult. And then, obviously, the last ayah then says, it's complete filth. And that's when people left it. The point being that people were weaned off it slowly, because if you imposed everything straight away, khalas, they might not have taken it to it. So we need to follow this methodology now. It's fine for us. You can't use that excuse on a Muslim, who was born and raised as a Muslim, because if they've never had alcohol, they've never had that dependency on it. But for someone who has lived in that society where they've had this dependency on them, we need to show them that same leniency that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with all of them, when Islam was being revealed to them. There's no difference between the two states.
Okay.
So that's where we need to stop treating the not yet Muslims as though they are Muslims and they should have been aware of Islam from day one.
Although they're often described as being better than the Muslims. In many circumstances they are, because of the their actions.
In many because you know what? Because they don't believe in a God, they have no one else to please. They just live by their own morals.
Well, according to them, they're just going to get eaten by the worms. They're just worm food, really.
They are just worm food. But many of them still tend to live their lives as decent human beings, and they're better than Muslims, because we find that these type of overzealous Muslims, they also tend sometimes to be arrogant ones, sort of. And I know it's a really, really terrible thing to say, but I do think it's something that we need to address, that sometimes Muslims, we think that only we are on the haqq. We have this evidence, and it gives us some sort of false pride that because we are on the haqq, everybody else is wrong, everybody else is stupid, I'm the only one that's right, and therefore I have power to rule over you. My small little kingdom. I don't know what. But, it's a very disastrous situation to be in, and this kind of arrogance, it destroys us many times, whereas the people outside, they're not yet Muslims, they don't have this. They're very open-minded. Maybe that's because they have no grasp of the truth, the real truth. They're still searching for answers. But, in many cases, they are better than us. So we need to humble ourselves. But, in terms of I think we've explored the overzealous Muslim that we need to explore.
But he has some other characteristics. For example, maybe the approach in the street. Maybe they're calling loudly, using megaphones. Xylophones these days, drums.
Actually,
right.
That's
signs with fairly inflammatory comments. Like Jesus is not a prophet of Christianity. But call them with wisdom and fair preaching, right?
Yeah, there's a way to make your point, and what they're trying to do is get the attention and get that shock factor in working, and fine as a principle, fine, but in reality, is it going to work? Are you really going to expect someone to say, well, Jesus is a prophet in Islam as well? Oh, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. They're not going to do that. So you need to talk to people in their own language, and this is one thing that also irritates me about these type of people. Oh, the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to wear a thobe and to dress like this. Yeah, akhi, if you see this,
khul under the eyes, and they have the miswak in there. No, I've seen it.
I haven't seen them do that.
I've seen that.
Okay, I haven't seen them go that far.
May Allah bless them for continuing with the sunnah, but there's a time and there's a place to develop that in front of non-Muslims when you're giving da'wah.
Well, there's two interpretations here, because yes, that was the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but then you can also look at it the other way. His sunnah was to dress the same way as the people. He was a messenger from the people to the people. That's the nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He sent messengers from their own peoples.
Indeed.
So why? So they were approachable. So if the people were all wearing that dress, he wore the same dress. He didn't look like an outsider. As we've mentioned many a time, people would come from the outside and they couldn't tell who he was.
So what do you think that approach, that whole approach, what do you think we know, but enunciate it. What do you think the approach actually creates in the mindset and the mind's eye of the average not yet Muslim in the West?
Well, let's take, given their interaction with Islam is mostly from the media, right? What kind of Muslims do they see on the front page, especially given the Western media? They see all the crazy fundos, the fanatics, this Abu Hamza Giza with the hook for a hand. And he's wearing the exact same clothes that they are. So there's that natural association there. What we need to do is, look, if we really want to call someone, stop drawing attention to ourselves because we look different, we act different. People don't want to be different. What you need to show them that Islam fits in with their lifestyle. Not that we're reducing Islam, but that, look, they just need to change a little bit and they can be Muslim, inshallah.
Inshallah.
There's no condition in Islam that you have to wear a thobe and things like that. No, fine. If you want to wear it because it was the practice of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fine, no problem. If you want to dress like the people because that was the practice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, fine. I don't see the difference there. So what we need to do is, again, we need to focus. What is our goal? Our goal is to invite these people to Islam. They aren't going to be invited, they aren't going to accept an invitation from someone who appears hostile to them. So that's the very first step, that we need to stop, we need to take a very strong, hard look at ourselves and think, do we appear hostile to these people? Because the Prophet Muhammad never appeared hostile to anyone. So if our very appearance, if our very action is scaring these people.
Well, even in the battlefield, okay?
Yeah.
In the extremes of the battlefield, as people are preparing to die for the sake of what they believe in, either kufr or out-and-out disbelief and polytheism, or tawheed, okay? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does he do? He says, first of all, ask them, will they accept Islam, that there's only one God worthy of worship, and I am the messenger. First of all, tell them, if they do that, let's go home. What an amazing bargain. It's an amazing bargain, It's,
okay.
No, I mean, I've moved there.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, how does that apply to them not okay, fine, I can see it's not being hostile. There's no need to be overly aggressive. When there's no need to be, always find the easiest way. Basically, that's where we're going. Always find the easiest way to appeal to the person, to make it easier to have that dialogue, to have that exchange. Don't put in barriers that are unnecessary. What difference does it make if you are wearing a thobe or if you're wearing, jeans and a t-shirt, for example?
Right. And we learned that from the Christian missionaries that are out there, traversing all the Muslim lands, and there's hundreds and thousands of them in the Muslim lands right now as we speak.
And they are doing, and from their, they actually, I have to say it, unfortunately, they are doing an amazing job. They are very, very successful.
We're going to have an episode just on that, bro. But the reason I'm saying is that, look, they have learnt to mold themselves to the thinking and to the culture of the indigenous population of where
Indeed.
they're calling the people to. Okay,
Indeed.
They haven't changed their message necessarily,
Yep.
but they've changed the whole approach and what they wear and how they actually address the whole
Exactly.
topic of the belief in one God or the
Exactly.
belief in God.
Now, should we move on? Let's move on to the
Yeah.
other extreme as well.
Okay.
Where now the problem with this other extreme is the person doesn't really offer a solution in Islam. So you could have, say, an atheist come or a Christian come on, but they won't really present Islam as the truth. Islam is almost presented as another way of life.
Yeah.
So it's almost as though, from our point of view, you have all these different ways of life. They're all equally true. They're all equally valid. You're going to heaven, I'm going to heaven, he's going to heaven, everyone's going to heaven. They might as well practically say there is no hellfire.
Lots of hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
Share a coffee and a kebab.
Yeah.
Off home.
Not, opposite gender issue, no problem to shake hands, it's the 21st century.
So what is the term da'wah? Da'wah to what?
Allahu Alam. I mean, seriously, again, if we're not calling to Islam, if we're not differentiating ourselves, then again we need to question, why are we Muslims and what are we doing? At the end of the day, if there's other forms of life that are easier, why would we not take those? I mean,
it reminds me of something. Let me tell you this anecdote, right? I don't want to take you off the subject too much, but when I embraced Islam 20 years ago, alhamdulillah, by the grace and mercy of Allah, one of the guys I was working with, okay, he's a Buddhist, Asian Buddhist, he came to me and said, Tim, he said, why you become Muslim? It's very, very tough when you're a Muslim. You should have become a Buddhist. You could have done anything you want.
yeah.
I said, well, what was the point? I mean, may as well
Exactly.
just stay the way I was.
Exactly. I mean, I think we need to stop kidding the people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all these different ways of life, they all can't be true. It's completely impossible, because you can't have a situation where, the Muslims, for example, they're saying there is only one creator, he's indivisible, etc., etc. And you have, say, the Christians saying, no, God had a son and he was born and this, that, and the other. And others saying, there are hundreds of gods. And someone saying there is no God and there is no afterlife. All, just logically, these all cannot be true. There can only be, at most, one of them must be the truth. If we believe we have the truth and we can demonstrate it, and we will show you how to demonstrate it later on, inshallah.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to have to draw this program to a close, unfortunately. We've run out of time. There's such a lot to discuss when it comes to this topic, my brother, and how in which we re-engage and reconnect with the Masjid here in the West, there in the East, subhanAllah. Let's get back on the role of the da'wah, of calling the people back to Islam, away from the filth and the chaos of Jahannam. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you guys out there. And you're going to tune in to the next episode. We're going to be talking about something called Go Rap. Assalamu alaikum. It's a wrap.